All right, time for another edition of my response to the weekly political goop provided by the two political parties. This week, again, it's the presidential weekly address. I shall respond to lots of boring crap.
This week, I spent some time with Americans across the country who are hurting because of this economic crisis. People closing the businesses they scrimped and saved to start. Families losing the homes that were their stake in the American dream. Folks who've given up trying to get ahead and given in to the stark reality of just trying to get by. They've been looking to those they sent to Washington for some hope at a time when they need it most.
Yeah, and what did you give them? Did you give them any hope? I mean, realistically, all I've seen the government produce so far is bailouts for the richest people in the country. So all those people on the list, I don't think there was anything for them.
This morning, I'm pleased to say that after a lively debate full of healthy differences of opinion, we've delivered real and tangible progress for the American people.
Why would you call it healthy differences of opinion? I mean, really. I mean, between the Republicans and the Democrats. I mean, either you're a Democrat or you're not. It's not healthy having to argue and make concessions to people who basically want the country to be reverted into a monarchy, who want the richest people in the world to basically own a few hundred of us each. I mean, screw you. It's not a healthy debate. You had to compromise with assholes. Why don't you just tell the truth?
Congress has passed my economic recovery plan, an ambitious plan at a time we badly need it. It will save or create more than 3.5 million jobs over the next 2 years, ignite spending by businesses and consumers alike, and lay a new foundation for our lasting economic growth and prosperity.
Who's going to pay for it? How the hell can it possibly be lasting? Doesn't somebody have to pay for it? It's all made out of debt money. You didn't sacrifice or sell anything. You didn't find any new productivity to exploit to pay for it. There's nothing in it that pays for it. So, I mean, you're going to give today, and you're going to have to take away 6 months from now. And so what's the accomplishment? There's no accomplishment in this. It's a facade. It's a fallacy. It's nonsense.
A major milestone on our road to recovery. And I want to thank the members of Congress who came together in common purpose to make it happen. Because they did, I will sign this legislation into law shortly, and we'll begin making the immediate investments necessary to put people back to work doing the work America needs done. The work of modernizing our health.
10% of your stupid 700 and whatever billion dollars is going to just move state debt onto the Federal Register. That's all it's going to do. 10% of this program is absolute nothing. 40% is a $15 a week tax break. I mean, come on, get real. This is not going to solve any problem. You're not restructuring anything about anything that has something to do with the problem that exists. You're doing nothing about. All right? What there are is a whole bunch of claims by a bunch of rich stock players, okay, on our dollar bills. They have a bunch of claims on human productivity. So many claims they can't be paid. There's no workers to pay the bills. But they're going to try to make that happen. And in the effort to try to make that happen, eventually the American dollar is going to be turned into crap. And your bill doesn't do anything about that reality.
Healthcare system, saving billions of dollars in countless lives, and upgrading classrooms, libraries, and labs in our children's schools across America. The work of building wind turbines and solar panels, and the smart...
Whatever. I mean, the whole child thing is a whole different liability. That's a local tax liability that's obscene. Okay, there's a bunch of local governments who are going to be feeling that debt if interest rates go where they're supposed to go, where they inevitably have to go. Then who's going to pay back all that? All the investment that's already been made, the selling of the future interest for the present. All right? I mean, it's deficits. That's the evil here. Okay? It is borrowing money is the evil. Why don't you just declare the evil what it is?
Grid necessary to transport the clean energy they create, and laying broadband internet lines to connect rural homes, schools, and businesses to the information superhighway. The work of repairing our crumbling roads and bridges, and our dangerously deficient dams and...
Yeah, so what? I mean, like it's fine to subsidize things, but a lot of these rural communities ought to be doing their own subsidies. All right, you're talking about people that are pretty rich sometimes. Why don't they pay their own freight for this rural connectivity?
Levies. And we'll help folks who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own by providing the unemployment benefits they need and protecting the health care they count on. Now, some fear we won't be able to effectively implement a plan of this size and scope. And I understand there's...
Well, if you didn't waste and already spend the unemployment trust funds, then you'd have the money in there to extend unemployment benefits. But no, you already spent that money because you borrow everything. Every dime you can borrow, you already borrowed that you can already borrow on. I mean, you're using all these little cheap taxes like, yeah, let's raise the cigarette tax, or let's raise the gas tax, let's screw the average person some more so we can give the money to the rich.
Skepticism. Washington hasn't set a very good example in recent years. And with so much on the line, it's time to begin doing things differently. That's why our goal must be to spend these precious dollars with unprecedented accountability, responsibility, and transparency.
Oh yeah, we've seen what that adds up to. It adds up to nothing. Oh yeah, well, we spent the money on this program by giving it to this business. It doesn't force the business to be any more accountable. It doesn't force them to explain on their books how much of the money went to administration of the dollars and how much actually went to what they were supposed to accomplish with the friggin' money. So you're just giving some more money to a bunch of greedy capitalists so they can rip off their percentage off the top. I mean, why don't you just say, yes, we're going to hire a bunch of little Halliburtons to do the work. Screw that shit.
I've tasked my cabinet and staff to set up the kind of management, oversight, and disclosure that will help ensure that, and I will challenge state and local governments to do the same. Once the plan is put into action...
Challenge them, yeah, but you won't require anybody to do anything. We already heard your finance minister, that's what we'll call him, when pressed, well, are you going to fire any of these rich bankers who've gotten hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 3 years? Hundreds of millions? Will you fire any of these assholes? Oh, no, we're not going to fire anybody. No, we're not going to hold anybody accountable for anything.
A new website, recovery.gov, will allow any American to watch where the money goes and weigh in with comments and questions. And I encourage every American to do so. Ultimately, this is your money, and you deserve to know where it's going and how it's spent.
I bet you'll pay as much you'll pay attention to those comments as you do the emails you get or some other kind of bullshit. I mean, come on, what a fraud.
This historic step won't be the end of what we do to turn our economy around, but rather the beginning. The problems that led us into this crisis are deep and widespread, and our response must be equal to the task.
Why don't you talk about how complex they are, because they're not very complex, are they? The problem is that we have borrowed a bunch of money from rich bastards, and we borrowed it at silly and crazy premiums under idiotic circumstances. And you've basically done, all you've done is say, yes, let's give them more federal deposit insurance. Let's convert all their assets, all their stock market assets, all their risk-taking, let's all convert that into savings account and federally insure it. That's all you're doing. You're just protecting the assets of the richest people in the world. I mean, come on.
For our plan to succeed, we must stabilize, repair, and reform our banking system and get credit flowing again to families and businesses. We must write and enforce new rules of the road.
So why don't you exactly demonstrate, why don't you show us some of these businesses that are so desperate for this friggin' credit? And I bet you they won't be very good businesses. I bet you there'll be businesses that probably should be going out of business because they've been probably feeding off of debt for years. They're probably not very functional businesses. I mean, you have to have a pretty bad business if you're still borrowing money.
Stop unscrupulous speculators from undermining our economy ever again. We must stem the spread of foreclosures and do everything we can to help responsible homeowners stay in their homes. And in the weeks ahead, I will submit...
It means where's responsible? What? So the ones that's unemployed, so they're responsible because they got unemployed? I mean, how are you going to do that? There's no way you can do that. You're going to take what? You're going to take money from somebody who's got a few $1,000s in a savings account and didn't go out and buy a house. And you're going to take their money and somehow give it to the guy who decided he wanted a 40-inch flat screen TV and a new house. I mean, how are you going to divvy up this money?
A proposal for the federal budget that will begin to restore the discipline these challenging times demand. Our debt has doubled over the past 8 years, and we've inherited a $1 trillion deficit, which we must add to in the short term in order to jumpstart our sick economy. But our long-term economic growth...
Isn't that what they all say? We must add to it in the short term. We must add to it in the short term. Everybody always says that. It's all this talk, that it's all it is. I mean, all the time. We must add to it. We must add to it. We must. And then they just keep, but they never pay the bills. The bill's never paid. So go ahead. You really think you have a realistic chance of getting a tax increase passed through the United States Senate to make up the money you're going to borrow? There's no chance, no hope. So you're just going to add some more to this obscene deficit that is the core problem.